Watch this.
The concept of drastically changing Medicaid expansion in Idaho, oh, the idea is back again. Another version of a piece of legislation that could make some major changes, while others are withering away. There's a lot of legislation around COVID this year, but one bill wants to change a COVID law that already exists and expand an anti-vaccine mandate to include all vaccines. Playing video games at school? What happened to going outside to play? But what if the kids' video games are actually helping design a park to go outside to play in? That's what one Seattle class is working on. You know the old saying, third time's the charm, or fourth time's the charm, or fifth, sixth? What is it? It's hard to track it all, but Idaho lawmakers are making another run at putting sideboards on Medicaid in Idaho and also taking a look at Medicaid expansion. The new effort, House Bill 345, is called the Medicaid Reform and Cost Containment Act. It was printed in committee this morning. The goal is to control costs of the program, prompted by concerns from Republican lawmakers that there are runaway costs on the horizon and opportunities within the program for fraud and abuse. It does include Medicaid expansion limits, but the bill sponsor kind of highlighted this newest effort.
After we introduced the previous RS, we had a number of stakeholders asked to meet and just kind of discuss the bill in a little more detail. Through those discussions, we found a couple tweaks to make to the bill just to kind of fulfill the actual legislative intent of what we were trying to accomplish.
All right, so a little bit of an explanation here. That legislation will get a full hearing on Monday, and it's technically a substitute concept for a previous iteration. So it could wind up heading straight to the second reading calendar. By the way, we've told you about other Medicaid and Medicaid expansion pieces of legislation. It would appear that those have stalled out while this one takes priority, but we'll get back to you on Monday. The Idaho Senate advanced a bill that could reshape the state's approach to medical freedom in Idaho, specifically as it comes to vaccination requirements. And our Aspen Shumpert joins us in studio here on a Friday. Tell us, what are lawmakers kind of examining this time?
Yeah, lawmakers are looking to make tweaks to the state's current Coronavirus Stop Act. Right now, the Coronavirus Stop Act from 2023 shields Idahoans from businesses and government entities from requiring COVID-19 vaccines for employment, services, or event access. But there's a notable gap in the law. It doesn't cover schools. While Governor Brad Little signed an executive order back in 2021 preventing state institutions, including public schools and universities like Boise State, from requiring COVID-19 vaccination proof. Executive orders don't carry the same weight as legislation. That could soon change with Senate Bill 1023, which passed the Senate floor this week. The bill would expand these protections by transforming the Coronavirus Stop Act into the Idaho Medical Freedom Act. The revised legislation does more than just change its name. It replaces specific coronavirus language with broader terms like medical interventions, seemingly preparing for future vaccine mandates. Medical intervention is defined in the bill as things like medications or treatments taken to diagnose, prevent, or cure a disease. Additionally, it explicitly brings public and private schools under its umbrella, which would legally prevent them from mandating medical interventions. Bill sponsor Senator Daniel Foreman says this is to address what he calls overreach that occurred during the pandemic.
The decision as to what a citizen puts into his or her body involves a personal choice that should be made free from undue outside influence or intimidation.
Opponents of the bill see it differently. Senator Jim Guthrie calls this bill a slippery slope and inappropriately interferes with private business operations.
That's something we should be very cautious in doing. Business need to have the ability to have that flexibility to craft their business models to give them the best opportunity for success, and this bill compromises that.
The bill does list exceptions for medical interventions if necessary to comply with federal requirements. It also preserves existing school vaccine requirements, which already include parental opt-out provisions. Now, Joe, additionally, I was able to reach the Boise Metro Chambers today, which is an organization that helps out with local businesses. They actually sent a letter to the Senate when this was going through committee opposing to this, specifically because they also feel like it interferes with private businesses and what their policies are, and that they should have the freedom to create those policies.
I remember watching this play out specifically with masks, something else that has been labeled as a medical intervention.
Yeah.
Private businesses in downtown Boise were harassed while people decided, well, this is my body and I don't want to wear a mask and I'm going to make a point. So I'd be interested to see if this gets signed into law, if there would be some type of protest about it.
Yeah, we know this does head over to the House side now for more conversations and debate, so we should hear more on what people think about this.
All right, Aspen, thank you so much. Well, hey, it is the end of the week, and you know what that means. We're recapping the big pieces of legislation that we tracked this week. It's the legislative wrap. It's law signing season at the Idaho State House. Governor Brad Little kicked off the week, adding House Bill 7 into Idaho Code. It creates a mandatory minimum $300 fine for first-time possession of marijuana, 3 ounces or less. Minors in Idaho are exempt from the fine. The law goes into effect July 1st. Monday was an emotional day in the Idaho House. Lawmakers approved House Bill 134, a proposal that provides expanded insurance coverage of supplemental breast cancer screening technology. Bill sponsor, Representative Brooke Green, is a breast cancer survivor and is now battling it for the second time. These screenings, she says, saves lives.
This is a fiscally conservative bill. You cannot argue against the fact that catching cancer early results in a better cost to the payer than catching it at 2, 3, or 4.
Legislation now heads to a Senate committee for consideration. Wednesday hosted a controversial debate. House Bill 230, it would prohibit indecent sexual exhibitions in public places where minors might be there. Supporters of the bill cite drag shows and other performances, namely pride festivals, as events that they say have gone too far.
Those types of indecent performances would not be allowed over daytime television broadcast. And so all we're doing is applying that same standard to public parks and other places where kids might be present. Anyone
found to violate the law could be sued in civil court by the minor or their guardian. Senate State Affairs is set to pick up the bill after approval from the House. Thursday capped off a years-long effort for supporters of school choice funding. Governor Little signed House Bill 93 into law, the Idaho Parental Choice Tax Credit. Beginning in January 2026, families can apply for a $5,000 tax credit per K-12 student for expenses that could include private school or religious school tuition. Critics question if the now law checks the boxes that Governor Little laid out in his State of the State. Supporters call it a major win for Idaho education and families.
That it needed to be fair, it needed to provide accountability, responsibility, and transparency. By any definition of those 4 words, this bill does none of that. It's really a promise broken to the citizens of Idaho.
There's a lot of work to do to make sure that families are aware of this program and getting the word out about that. And so in one way, the work is just really beginning.
Thursday also hosted debate on cutting daycare regulations. Sponsors of House Bill 243 say increased flexibility will draw more people to the industry, helping Idaho's child care crisis. Critics argue it will make things worse, impacting children in a negative way.
Most other states' ratios are significantly less than Idaho's already.
Legislation passed the full House, but now heads over to the Senate for consideration. Finally, on Friday, lawmakers in the Senate State Affairs Committee took up House Bill 83, an effort to create a new set of state-level immigration laws. The bill proposes the state crime of illegal entry or illegal presence by a person. Law enforcement could only enforce the law if a person is detained or suspected of committing a separate serious crime. Critics worry the language is overly broad and promotes profiling.
They've done something criminal in the United States means you've been convicted. It doesn't mean you were suspected of something, that you've been detained or investigated because you're suspected of having done something. That's part of our constitutional rights.
Legislation was sent to the Senate floor's 14th order, a place where lawmakers as a group could make amendments. And that's a legislative wrap. Let's look beyond the 208 now to check out some of the best stories from our neighboring states this week. First up, we're taking you to the state of Washington, where in the 1970s, a Kitsap County Sheriff's deputy was accidentally shot, leaving him paralyzed and wheelchair-bound. But John Strawn would go on to defy expectations. Even after his death, his memory is being honored in outer space. Reporter Maddie White and photojournalist Joseph Huerta from our sister station in Seattle share the legacy.
There's something about the sky.
The sky is so clear, you can just see every single star.
Out here in Squim.
It's amazing. I've just been out there thinking, God, he's gonna be up there pretty soon.
For Jenny Strawn, the sky symbolizes both her future
In the sky, that's John.
and her past.
Passion was being a pilot. He wanted that. He loved being in the air.
Jenny's late husband, John, was forced to stop flying planes at far too young an age. In the late 70s, he was working as a Kitsap County Sheriff's deputy.
They were waiting for a confidential informant for burglaries that were happening. He had been making a sandwich and he looked up.
A Paulsbo police officer's gun accidentally went off, shooting John in the neck. The bullet hurting his spine.
I think when he first got paralyzed, they told him you'd probably live about 10 years, John.
But it didn't hurt his spirit.
And he lived 44.
John defied expectations.
I swear this man did not realize he was paralyzed.
Until the bitter end.
Passed away in July of 23.
Was it directly related to?
It was. It's not fair that he's gone. He should still be here because he loved life. No matter what, he loved life. And if they ever send anyone in a rocket, he would have loved to have been the first one to go.
Jenny's now preparing to send portions of John's cremains on 2 Celestis Memorial spaceflight missions. The first rocket circles the Earth's orbit.
It's really not more expensive than a memorial service.
And another flies even higher,
Deep outer space.
just like John always wanted.
I do think it will give me closure. I do.
Limitless at last.
Keep seeing you as you're talking, like your eyes are just shifting over and you just keep looking over towards the mountains.
I just think he's there. Like I want him to just be free.
From outer space to creating space with your mind. Students at a Seattle school are playing video games to help design a park in a space with a lot of history. What kind of history do you want to learn about? Tell us by texting 208-321-5614. Send us your ideas, questions, comments, feedbacks, concerns, really anything. Just don't forget to include your name and hashtag the 208. We'll get to as many of these live at the end of the show as we have time for. Beyond the 208, let's travel to the state of Washington, specifically Seattle, where a part of the city shaped by the Black community is getting a new vision of the future. A park that has been a cornerstone for generations is now in the hands of a new generation thanks to a video game. Shanti Sumter at our sister station in Seattle sat down with the group of students behind the project.
You might not expect a video game to play a role in city planning, but these kids are using the virtual world to make a real-world impact.
Who wants to help with a treehouse?
Brianna Deck and Sabrina Ali are a part of a team from the William Gross Center for Cultural Innovation. They spent a week inside Minecraft laying out their vision for what Judkins Park could become.
We managed to organize a lot of things that are very likely to happen, and then there's like a list of things that are very possible, but only if we manage to get the first priorities.
Those priorities include renovating the restrooms, upgrading the spray park and playground, and making sure all kids, regardless of ability, can enjoy the space.
I think it would be pretty cool, just like thinking about being able to take my family to Judkins one day and just be like, I made that, I designed that, I helped do that.
This project isn't just about improving the park, it's about honoring its history. Seattle Parks and Rec teamed up with Africatown Community Land Trust to ensure the Black community's voice was central to the process because of the deep cultural significance.
There's a lot of history that went into creating that park. Students are not always aware of the legacy and the blood that went into creating this park and the obstacles that were done through redlining and other types of discriminatory acts within the Central District.
Back in the 1940s, this site was an open dump, but the community stepped up, working alongside the city to transform it into a park. Beginning with the Black Community Festival in 1952, for 70 years, Judkins Park has been home to community events like Emoji Fest and Protest. Ty Griffin, program manager at the William Gross Center, says learning this history gave students a deeper appreciation for their work.
They began to unfold with understanding that, oh, this is bigger than just Minecraft. This is bigger than just design. There are people that created this opportunity for us to have this park.
Want some green space in your life? How about checking out one of the most beautiful places in Idaho, Lake Coeur d'Alene? But you won't be alone because this time of year, photographers are flying there to see the bald eagle migration. It's that time again, the time where you tell us what you think of the show or the valley or Idaho in general, really anything around the 208. Text us at 208-321-5614. Include your name and hashtag the 208. Who knows, maybe you'll see yours live at the end of the show. Beyond Boise, let's head up north where wildlife photographers are flocking to witness bald eagles migrating to Lake Coeur d'Alene. That's where we find reporter Amanda Rowley from our sister station in Spokane, Washington, to tell the story.
As the early morning mists begin to rise, the paparazzi descends on Lake Coeur d'Alene. They stake out along the shore, hoping to capture migrating celebrities.
So there's one right there.
Jay Hoover and Mark Hendrickson are amateur wildlife photographers.
If you can get action pictures of them diving down, catching a fish, is always good.
They're among the many shutterbugs who flock to Coeur d'Alene for the bald eagles.
Not very many people have this opportunity, and a lot of people have never seen an eagle before. And we have so many of them right here that you can just come and watch them.
Each winter, a migrating population of bald eagles visits the Lake Coeur d'Alene area from interior Alaska and Canada. They come to feast on spawning kokanee and occasionally fight for their meal.
No!
He dropped it! The returning number of eagles varies from year to year, reaching a couple hundred.
Straight ahead from me, there's 2 eagles.
He's probably getting ready to fly here.
The returning number of eagles varies from year to year, reaching a couple hundred. This winter, the U.S. Bureau of Land Management's weekly count peaked at 284 eagles. That's not even close to last winter's record total of 409. Which means photographers must keep a sharp eye to capture America's bird in action.
If you watch them for a while, sometimes you'll get lucky enough to see them take off.
It's a test of patience. Some spend hours waiting for the perfect shot.
It's just a challenge for me, see if I can get them flying or fighting or trying to catch a fish.
We're trying to get the diving into the water and pulling out the fish.
Eventually, it happens.
Yes.
Oh, he's going down.
It was a jaw drop for me. So I'm just kind of vibrating because I thought, I got it. I even told my dog, I got it.
It's a moment Julie Wagner hoped to see on her holiday visit.
Like, he's just beautiful. He's so beautiful. I just can't get over how beautiful he is.
And she didn't need the big guns to get the shot.
Did you get some good shots?
She used her phone.
Wonderful.
Still, having a big lens doesn't hurt. Just look at this stunning shot.
I envy you guys with your big cameras.
By the afternoon, the eagle frenzy calms.
Truly a highlight for me.
But you can bet the paparazzi will be back at it again soon.
Here's a look at your weather headlines. So the Malheur River flood warning is back in place, and it will be through tomorrow. We'll keep you posted. Also, February ending on a sunny note, March kicking off on a sunny note, so lots to be thankful for there. Monday, however, you're looking at a most likely rainy drive to work. Right now, we're sitting at 56 degrees here in Boise, lots of sunshine in the air, a light breeze, absolutely beautiful. And here's a look at our satellite radar. So we have this high pressure system here south of Boise. It's been hanging out now for quite some time, but it's about to get knocked out by this low pressure system here off the Pacific. It's going to bring in a moist Pacific trough this weekend. Sunday night, there's a chance, about a 30% chance of rain after midnight. Monday, however, we'll most likely get about 1/10 of an inch of rain here in the Treasure Valley. In the mountains, in the Boise Mountains and the West Central Mountains, they'll most likely get some rain and snow showers, but it's unlikely that anything is really going to stick. Here's a look at your evening tonight. By 8 o'clock, you're sitting at 47, dropping down 10 degrees by midnight to 37, not too bad. And here's a sneak peek at your weekend for Boise. Tomorrow we get a forecast high of 60. Now Sunday we wake up to a low of 32, and even though we've got some cloudy skies in the mix, we still get a high of 52. And with that, here's a look at your 7-day forecast to give you a more complete picture of your week ahead. Monday we do have winds in the mix with a high of 52 and scattered showers likely. Tuesday, almost a rinse and repeat kind of format there with a high of 54.
All right, let's wrap up this program. A great comment here. Hashtag the 208. Little, the governor, requested input from the public via telephone regarding House Bill 93. What was the count of voters for versus voters against? Did it matter at all? Jack in Boise. I don't know where this idea came from. Maybe it was misconstrued here, maybe even on the 208. The governor's office was not advertising for feedback. They always take feedback on all issues. There's a secretary and a team at the governor's office that listens to constituents from across the state of Idaho. The phones got blown up so much, though, that they had a new process of kind of taking that info in. To answer your other question, no, we don't know the results of the poll just yet. Hey, can I get $5,000 for sending my husband to private school? He's only 84, and I'm sure I can teach him a thing or two right here at home. I'll call it Susan's Hubby School. Susan, we can't allow that, unfortunately, because the legislation says that you cannot pay yourself to be a homeschool teacher. Otherwise, a good idea. Here we go, another lawsuit on taxpayer funds. There's going to be a lot of conversations about the distribution to legislative action. We'll find out more next week.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.